the homicide arrest that was made yesterday in regards to the 6-month-old infant. Just a brief overview, and I'm reading here from and looking from Amy Dotson's press release from Peoria Police regarding this case. On September 8th, 2019, at approximately 12:58 a.m., the police responded to 1200 block of South Matthew regarding an unresponsive baby. That infant was transported to St. Francis Medical Center and treated for this unresponsive episode. Throughout the day, they worked aggressively to revive the infant and were unsuccessful in doing so, and the infant was pronounced dead later that day at 10:08 a.m. My office was involved, obviously, right from the start. We arrived on scene at the hospital, interviewed the staff, interviewed the family, worked very collaboratively with Peoria Police Department as well, and brought the infant back here for an autopsy. With this case, like we do every neonate, infant, pediatric case, the investigation is very concise with the investigators to find out what happened to the infant, which I know is what everybody else wants to know as well. What we found on autopsy was that the infant suffered what we call hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, which is swelling of the brain. It's swelling of the brain secondary to a lack of oxygen, which we related to suffocation. The details of the case, which are still under investigation by the Peoria Police Department and the State's Attorney's Office, is still ongoing at this time right now. The crux of the matter is how the infants suffocate, and those questions in that part I'll leave up to Peoria Police to answer how they came to the conclusion to make an arrest in the case yesterday. But what we do know now from their investigation and in that collaboration is that the infant did suffer a suffocation from that incident on that date. Yes.
Was there any blood? Was there any trauma?
We did not find any evidence of blunt force trauma to this infant whatsoever. What we did find was this infant was well nourished, well cared for in the home. When we take a case like this and when we're looking at all the information with the case, of course we want to know what happened. We look for a couple things, especially on autopsy. Was there evidence of infection? Was there a tumor? Was there any kind of trauma or any kind of congenital abnormalities? So it's kind of on a rule-out basis. Can we rule out a congenital abnormality? Can we rule out a tumor or infection? And then we're left with what we find on the evidence, and then we take that information, we collaborate that with law enforcement, the State's Attorney's Office to come up with a conclusion.
Was there any retinal hemorrhage?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Why?
Go ahead.
Was this in no way, shape, or form sudden infant death? This is
So, and that's a great question. We rule out sudden infant death syndrome, and based on the investigation that we've collaborated with the police department on, there was no evidence that this infant was laid down in a particular area or location and then just did not wake up.
So in this case, can you tell if it's an accident or on purpose? I mean, he's being arrested for murder. So is it accidental? I guess it must be on purpose in this case.
So in a case like this, again, we work very, very closely with the Peoria Police Department in their investigation to lead us to the conclusion on how we rule the manner of death on this infant. And based on the information that we have, our manner of death will be ruled as a homicide.
How exactly was it connected to him specifically?
Pardon me?
How exactly was it connected to him specifically?
That I can't answer.
Okay.
Was the baby laying face down or face up?
From what we were told, the investigation from the dad himself, he wasn't laying on the bed, that he was actually caring for the infant. So beyond that, I don't know.
Wait. So the infant was not in some type of crib?
Not. I wasn't at the house to have that information.
You ever go to the house?
We do go to the house when the infant passes away or someone dies in the house. We go to the house. This particular infant was pronounced dead at the hospital, so we go to the hospital. We interview the family. We take the information that the family gives us to make that determination. But again, they're in a very heightened emotional situation, so sometimes details are not given to us all at once, or sometimes they're forgotten because of the emotion of the situation. So it was ongoing and collaboratively ongoing with everyone. So
sorry if you already mentioned this, but you said lack of oxygen to the brain. So suffocation, no form of prints on the neck or anything?
That's correct.
Okay.
And I don't legit know how the infant was found because I wasn't at the house to do that part of the investigation.
Has
I only know what I
anybody
was told.
has anybody told you? Because a child who is 6 months old can't raise their head up in most cases.
The problem with infants, when we talk about anatomy and physiology of an infant, their airways are a lot differently structured than an adult. Slight positioning changes in an infant, whether on a pillow, a blanket, even having an infant laying on your chest, on their stomach or on their back. Slight movements in their head can include an airway, with their tongue, soft tissue, and stuff like that. So, I mean, any number of things could have occluded the airway. So, the police have investigated this in the manner of which they feel like they have enough information to make an arrest in this case. So,
was the father there by himself?
At the residence, I don't know that.
Was there anybody else there watching the child?
I do not know that either.
Has the father did the child have any healing wounds?
Not to my knowledge, no. Like I said, the infant was appeared very well developed and cared for.
Signs of struggle?
No, not to my knowledge.
Just to reconfirm, was there, when the child was brought to the hospital and then pronounced dead, what was the timeline on that again?
I know the call came in at 12:58 a.m. and the time of death was at 10:08 a.m. So from a little after midnight, from a little after just before 1 o'clock in the morning to 10, so 9 hours.
Was the infant unresponsive at the at OSF?
Yeah, to my knowledge, the infant never did regain consciousness.
Never did regain.
Consciousness.
Do we know how long the infant was unresponsive prior to the call?
That I do not know.
Do we know who made the call?
I do not know that.
Do we know why the call was made?
Based on what I've read from the report, the call was made for a 6-month-old infant not breathing.
Right. But I'm saying, but
I don't know who
we do not
initiated. I don't know who
made
initiated
that
the
call.
phone call. I do not know that.
Okay. Was the father married to the mom?
That I do not know.
Was this his child?
To my knowledge, yes.
Biological?
I believe so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I believe so.
Does the couple have any other kids?
That I do not know.
Do we know? You had been to the house. What was the state of the house?
I've never made my.
Oh, you've never made it.
No.
Have
Like I said,
any of your dad?
We did not.
For death investigation.
No, we did not. We worked, like I said, collaboratively with the Peoria Police Department, who have been in the home.
Okay.
All set.
What are you thinking?
We were just talking about technical things on there.
All right, Jamie.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's what I
you.
got.
I think this was fun.
Yeah.
Is it okay?